the Highway Code Part 2. We are covering from 151 to 307. But please make sure you watch Part 1 for the first rules. Rule 151. In slow-moving traffic, you should reduce the distance between you and the vehicle ahead to maintain traffic flow. Never get so close to the vehicle in front that you cannot stop safely. Leave enough space to be able to maneuver if the vehicle in front breaks down or an emergency vehicle needs to get past. Not change lanes to the left to overtake. Allow access into and from side roads, as blocking this will add to congestion. Be aware of cyclists and motorcyclists who might be passing on either side. Section General Rules, Techniques and Advice for all drivers and riders. Rules 103 to 158. The subsection which covers this is General Advice, Rules 144 to 158. Rule 152. Driving in built-up areas. On residential streets, you should drive slowly and carefully. Pedestrians are likely to be seen, as well as cyclists and parked cars. In some areas, 20 miles per hour, 32 kilometers per hour, its maximum speed limit might be in force. Look out for vehicles emerging from junctions or driveways, for vehicles moving off or car doors opening. Pedestrians, children running out from between parked cars, or cyclists or motorcyclists. Section General Rules, Techniques and Advice for all drivers and riders. Rules 103 to 158. Subsection General Advice, Rules 144 to 158. Rule 153. Traffic calming measures. On some roads, there are features such as road humps, chicanes, and narrowings which are intended to slow you down. When you approach these features, reduce your speed. Allow cyclists and motorcyclists room to pass through them. Maintain a reduced speed along the whole of the stretch of road within the calming measures. Give way to oncoming road users if directed to do so by signs. You should not overtake other moving road users while in this area. Section General Rules, Techniques and Advice for all drivers and riders. Rules 103 to 158. Subsection General Advice, Rules 144 to 158. Rule 154. Country roads. Take extra care on country roads and reduce your speed at approaches to bends, which can be sharper than they appear, and at the junctions and turnings, which might be partially hidden. Be prepared for pedestrians, horse riders, cyclists, slow-moving farm vehicles, or mud on the road surface. Make sure you can stop within the distance you can see to be clear. You should also reduce your speed where country roads enter villages. Section General Rules, Techniques and Advice for all drivers and riders. Rules 103 to 158. Subsection General Advice, Rules 144 to 158. Rule 155. Single track roads. These are only wide enough for one vehicle. They might have special passing places. If you see a vehicle coming towards you, or the driver behind wants to overtake, pull into a passing place on your left, or wait opposite a passing place on your right. Give way to road users coming uphill whenever you can. If necessary, reverse until you reach a passing place to let the other vehicles pass. Slow down when passing pedestrians, cyclists, and horse riders. Section: General Rules, Techniques, and Advice for all drivers and riders. Rules 103 to 158. Subsection: General Advice, Rules 144 to 158. Rule 156. The Highway Code says not to park in passing places. Passing places are generally marked with a diamond-shaped white sign with the words "Passing Place" on it. Section: General Rules, Techniques, and Advice for all drivers and riders. Rules 103 to 158. Subsection: General Advice, Rules 144 to 158. Rule 157. Certain motorized vehicles do not meet the construction and technical requirements for road vehicles and are generally not intended, not suitable, and not legal for road, pavement, footpath, cycle path, or bridleway use. These include most types of miniature motorcycles, also called mini-motos, and motorized scooters, also called go-peds, which are powered by electric or internal combustion engines. These types of vehicles must not be used on roads, pavements, footpaths, or bridleways. Section: General Rules, Techniques, and Advice for all drivers and riders. Rules 103 to 158. Subsection: General Advice, Rules 144 to 158. Rule 158. Certain models of motorcycles, motor tricycles, and quadricycles, also called quad bikes, are suitable only for off-road use and do not meet legal standards for use on roads. Vehicles that do not meet these standards must not be used on roads. They must not be used on pavements, footpaths, cycle paths, or bridleways either. You must make sure that any motorcycle, motor tricycle, quadricycle, or any other motor vehicle meets legal standards and is properly registered, taxed, and insured before using it on the roads. Even when registered, taxed, and insured for the road, vehicles must not be used on pavements. Section: General Rules, Techniques, and Advice for all drivers and riders. Rules 103 to 158. Subsection: General Advice, Rules 144 to 158. Rule 159. Before moving off, you should use all mirrors to check the road is clear. Look around to check the blind spots, the areas you are unable to see in the mirrors. Signal if necessary before moving out. Look around for a final check. Move off only when it is safe to do so. Section: Using the road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection: General Rules, Rules 159 to 161. Rule 160. Once moving, you should keep to the left unless road signs and markings indicate otherwise. The exceptions are when you want to overtake, turn right, or pass parked vehicles or pedestrians in the road. Keep well to the left on right-hand bends. This will improve your view of the road and help avoid the risk of colliding with traffic approaching from the opposite direction. Drive or ride with both hands on the wheel or handlebars where possible. This will help you to remain in full control of the vehicle at all times. You may use driver assistance systems while you are driving. Make sure you use any system according to the manufacturer's instructions. Be aware of other road users, especially cyclists and motorcycles, who might be filtering through the traffic. These are more difficult to see than larger vehicles, and their riders are particularly vulnerable. Give them plenty of room, especially if you are driving a long vehicle or towing a trailer. You should give way to cyclists when you are changing direction or lane. Do not cut across them. Select the low gear before you reach a long downhill slope. This will help to control your speed. When towing, remember the extra length will affect overtaking and maneuvering. The extra weight will also affect the braking and acceleration. The section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection General Rules, Rules 159 to 161. Rule 161. Mirrors. All mirrors should be used effectively throughout your journey. You should use your mirrors frequently so that you always know what is behind and to each side of you, and use them in good time before you signal or change direction or speed. Be aware that mirrors do not cover all areas and there will be blind spots. You will need to look round and check. Remember, mirrors signal maneuver. This covers section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection General Rules, Rules 159 to 161. Rule 162. Before overtaking, you should make sure the road is sufficiently clear ahead. The road users are not beginning to overtake you. There is a suitable gap in front of the road user you plan to overtake. The section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 203. The subsection Overtaking, Rules 162 to 169. Rule 163. Overtake only when it is safe and legal to do so. You should not get too close to the vehicle you intend to overtake. Use your mirrors, signal when it is safe to do so. Take a quick sideways glance, if necessary, into the blind spot areas, and then start to move out. Don't assume that you can simply follow a vehicle ahead which is overtaking. There may only be enough room for one vehicle. Move quickly past the vehicle you are overtaking once you have started to overtake. Allow plenty of room. Move back to the left as soon as you can, but do not cut in. Take extra care at night and improve visibility when it is harder to judge speed and distance. Give way to oncoming vehicles before passing parked vehicles or other obstructions on your side of the road. Only overtake on the left if the vehicle in front is signaling to turn right, and there is room to do so. Stay in your lane if traffic is moving slowly in queues. If the queue on your right is moving more slowly than you are, you might pass on the left. Cyclists may pass slow-moving or stationary traffic on the right or left and should proceed with caution, as the driver may not be able to see you. Be careful about doing so, particularly on the approach to junctions, and especially when deciding whether it is safe to pass lorries or other large vehicles. Give motorcyclists, cyclists, and horse riders and horse-drawn vehicles at least as much room as you would when overtaking a car. As a guide, leave at least 1.5 meters when overtaking cyclists at speeds of up to 30 miles per hour, and give them more space when overtaking at higher speeds. Pass horse riders and horse-drawn vehicles at speeds under 10 meters per hour, and allow at least 2 meters of space. Allow at least 2 meters of space and keep to a low speed when passing a pedestrian who is walking on the road, for example, when there is no pavement. Take extra care and give more space when overtaking motorcyclists, cyclists, horse riders, horse-drawn vehicles, and pedestrians in bad weather, including high winds, and at night. You should wait behind a motorcyclist, cyclist, horse rider, horse-drawn vehicle, or pedestrian, and not overtake it if it is unsafe or not possible to meet these clearances. Remember, mirrors signal maneuver. Section using the road, rules 159 to 203. Subsection overtaking, rules 162 to 169. Rule 164. Large vehicles. Overtaking this is more difficult. You should draw back. This will increase your ability to see ahead and should allow the driver of the large vehicle to see you in their mirrors. Getting too close to large vehicles, including agricultural vehicles, such as a tractor with a trailer or other fixed equipment, will obscure your view of the road ahead and there might be another slow-moving vehicle in front. Make sure that you have enough room to complete your overtaking maneuver before committing yourself. It takes longer to pass a large vehicle. If in doubt, do not overtake. Don't assume you can follow a vehicle ahead which is overtaking a long vehicle. If a problem develops, they might abort overtaking and pull back in. Section using the road, rules 159 to 203. Subsection overtaking, rules 162 to 169. Rule 165. You must not overtake if you would have to cross or straddle double white lanes with a solid line nearest to you, or if you would have to enter an area designed to divide traffic if it is surrounded by a solid white line. You must not overtake the nearest vehicle to a pedestrian crossing, especially when it has stopped to let pedestrians cross. You must not overtake if you would have to enter a lane reserved for buses, trams, or cycles during its hours of operation. You must not overtake after a no overtaking sign and until you pass a sign cancelling the restriction. Section using the road, rules 159 to 203. Subsection overtaking, rules 162 to 169. Rule 166. Do not overtake if there is any doubt or where you cannot see far enough ahead to be sure it is safe. For example, when you are approaching a corner or bend, a hump bridge, or the brow of a hill. Section using the road, rules 159 to 203. Subsection overtaking, rules 162 to 169. Rule 167. Do not overtake where you might come into conflict with other road users. For example, approaching or at a road junction on either side of the road, where the road narrows, when approaching a school crossing patrol, on the approach to crossing facilities, where a vehicle ahead is slowing to stop for a pedestrian that is crossing from a pedestrian island, between the curb and a bus or tram when it is at a stop. Don't overtake where traffic is queuing at junctions or road works, when you would force another road user to swerve or slow down at a level crossing when a road user is indicating right, even if you believe the signal should have been cancelled. Do not take a risk, wait for the signal to be cancelled. Stay behind if you are following a cyclist approaching a roundabout or junction and you intend to turn left. Do not cut across cyclists going ahead, including those using cycle lanes and cycle tracks. Stay behind if you are following a horse rider or horse-drawn vehicle approaching a roundabout or junction and you intend to turn left. Do not cut across a horse rider or horse-drawn vehicle going ahead. Don't overtake when a tram is standing at a curbside tram stop and there is no clearly marked passing lane for other traffic. Section using the road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection Overtaking, Rules 162 to 169. Rule 168. Being overtaken. If a driver is trying to overtake you, maintain a steady course and speed, slowing down if necessary to let the vehicle pass. Never obstruct drivers who wish to pass. Speeding up or driving unpredictably while someone is overtaking you is dangerous. Drop back to maintain a 2-second gap if someone overtakes and pulls into the gap in front of you. Section using the road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection Overtaking, Rules 162 to 169. Rule 169. Do not hold up. A long queue of traffic, especially if you are driving a large or slow-moving vehicle. Check your mirrors frequently and if necessary, pull in where it is safe and let traffic pass. Section using the road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection Overtaking, Rules 162 to 169. Rule 170. Take extra care at junctions. You should watch out for cyclists, motorcyclists, and pedestrians, including powered wheelchairs, mobility scooter users, as they are not always easy to see. Be aware that they might not have seen or heard you if you are approaching from behind. Give way to pedestrians crossing or waiting to cross a road into which or from you are turning. If they have started to cross, they have priority, so give way. Stay behind cyclists, horse riders, horse-drawn vehicles, and motorcyclists at junctions, even if they are waiting to turn and are positioned close to the curb. Watch out for long vehicles which might be turning at a junction ahead. They might have to use the whole width of the road to make the turn. Watch out for horse riders who might take a different line on the road from that which you would expect. Don't assume, when waiting at a junction, that the vehicle coming from the right and signal left will actually turn. Wait and make sure, then look all around before emerging. Do not cross or join a road until there is a gap large enough for you to do so safely. Section using the road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection Road Junctions, Rules 170 to 183. Rule 171. You must stop behind the line at the junction with a stop sign and a solid white line across the road. Wait for a safe gap in the traffic before you move off. Laws: Road Traffic Act 1988, Section 36, and the Traffic Signs, Regulations and General Directions 2002, Regulations 10 and 16. Section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection Road Junctions, Rules 170 to 183. Rule 172. Give way. The approach to a junction may have a give way sign or a triangle marked on the road. You must give way to traffic on the main road when emerging from a junction with broken white lines across the road. Laws that apply to this: Road Traffic Act 1988, Section 36, the Traffic Signs Regulations and General Directions 2002, Regulations 10 parenthesis 1, 16 parenthesis 1, and 25. Section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection Road Junctions, Rules 170 to 183. Rule 173. Dual carriageways. When crossing or turning right, first assess whether the central reservation is deep enough to protect the full length of your vehicle. If it is, then you should treat each half of the carriageway as a separate road. Wait in the central reservation until there is a safe gap in the traffic on the second half of the road. If the central reservation is too shallow for the length of your vehicle, wait until you can cross both carriageways in one go. Section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection Road Junctions, Rules 170 to 183. Rule 174. Box junctions. These have crisscross yellow lines painted on the road. You must not enter the box until your exit road or lane is clear. However, you might enter the box and wait when you want to turn right, and are only stopped from doing so by oncoming traffic or by other vehicles waiting to turn right. At signal roundabouts, you must not enter the box unless you can cross over it completely without stopping. A law. The Traffic Signs Regulations and General Directions 2002, Regulations 10 parenthesis 1 and 29 parenthesis 2. Section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection Road Junctions, Rules 170 to 183. Rule 175. You must stop behind the white stop line across your side of the road unless the light is green. If the amber light appears, you might go on only if you have already crossed the stop line. You might go on as well if you are so close to it that to stop might cause a collision. The section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection Road Junctions, Rules 170 to 183. Rule 176. You must not move forward over the white line when the red light is showing. Only go forward when the traffic lights are green if there is room for you to clear the junction safely or you are taking up a position to turn right. If the traffic lights are not working, treat the situation as you would an unmarked junction and proceed with great care. Section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 103. Subsection Road Junctions, Rules 170 to 183. Rule 177. Green filter arrow. This indicates a filter lane only. Do not enter that lane unless you want to go in the direction of the arrow. You might proceed in the direction of the green arrow when it or the full green light shows. Give other traffic, especially cyclists, time and room to move into the correct lane. Section Using the road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection The road junctions, Rules 170 to 183. Rule 178. Advanced stop lines. Some signal control junctions have advanced stop lines to allow cyclists to be positioned ahead of other traffic. Motorists, including motorcyclists, must stop at the first white line reached if the lights are amber or red and should avoid blocking the way or encroaching on the marked area at other times. Example, if the junction ahead is blocked. If your vehicle has proceeded over the first white line at the time that the signal goes red, you should stop as soon as possible and must stop at the second white line. Allow cyclists, including any moving or waiting alongside you, enough time and space to move off when the green signal shows. Drivers of large vehicles should stop sufficiently far behind the first white line so that they can see the whole area where cyclists might be waiting, allowing for any blind spot in front of the vehicle. Laws. Road Traffic Act 1988, Section 36, the Traffic Signs Regulations and General Directions, 2016. Schedule 14, Part 1, 36, parenthesis 1, and 43, parenthesis 2. Section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 203, Subsection Road Junctions, Rules 170 to 183. Rule 179. Turn right. Well before you turn right, you should use your mirrors to make sure you know the position and movement of traffic behind you. Give a right turn signal. Take up a position just left of the middle of the road or in the space marked for traffic turning right. Leave room for other vehicles to pass on the left if possible. Section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 103. Subsection Road Junctions, Rules 170 to 183. Rule 180. Wait until there is a safe gap between you and any oncoming vehicle. Watch out for cyclists, motorcyclists, pedestrians, and other road users. Check your mirrors and blind spot again to make sure you are not being overtaken, then make the turn. Do not cut the corner. Take great care when turning into a main road. You will need to watch for traffic in both directions and wait for a safe gap. Remember, mirrors signal maneuver. Section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection Road Junctions, Rules 170 to 183. Rule 181. When turning right at crossroads, where an oncoming vehicle is also turning right, there is a choice of two methods. 1. Turn right side to right side. Keep the other vehicle on your right and turn behind it. This is generally the safer method as you have a clear view of any approaching traffic when completing your turn. And 2. Left side to left side, turning in front of each other. This can block your view of oncoming vehicles, so take extra care. Cyclists and motorcyclists in particular might be hidden from your view. Road layout, markings, or how the other vehicle is positioned can determine which course should be taken. Section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection Road Junctions. Rules 170 to 183. Rule 182. Use your mirrors and give a left turn signal well before you turn left. Do not overtake just before you turn left, and watch out for traffic coming up on your left before you make the turn, especially if driving a large vehicle. Cyclists, motorcyclists, and other road users in particular might be hidden from your view. Section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection Road Junctions, Rules 170 to 183. Rule 183. When turning, keep as close to the left as is safe and practicable. Give way to any vehicle using a bus lane, cycle track, or tramway from either direction, including when they are passing slow-moving or stationary vehicles on either side. Section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection Road Junctions, Rules 170 to 183. Rule 184. On approaching a roundabout, take notice and act on all the information available to you, including traffic signs, traffic lights, and lane markings which direct you into the correct line. You should use mirrors, signal, maneuver at all stages. Decide as early as possible which exit you need to take. Give an appropriate signal. Time your signals so as not to confuse other road users. Get into the correct lane. Adjust your speed and position to fit in with traffic conditions. Be aware of the speed and position of all the road users around you. Section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection Roundabouts, Rules 184 to 190. Rule 185. When reaching the roundabout, you should give priority to traffic approaching from your right unless directed otherwise by signs, road markings, or traffic lights. Check whether road markings allow you to enter the roundabout without giving way. If so, proceed, but still look to the right before joining. Watch out for all other road users already on the roundabout. Be aware they might not be signaling correctly or at all. Look forward before moving off to make sure traffic in front has moved off. Section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection Roundabouts, Rules 184 to 190. Rule 186. Signals and position. When taking the first exit to the left, unless signs or markings indicate otherwise, signal left and approach in the left-hand lane. Keep to the left on the roundabout and continue signaling left to leave. When taking an exit to the right or going full circle, unless signs or markings indicate otherwise, signal right and approach in the right-hand lane. Keep to the right on the roundabout until you need to change lanes to exit the roundabout. Signal left after you have passed the exit before the one you want. When taking any intermediate exit, unless signs or markings indicate otherwise, select the appropriate lane on approach to the roundabout. You should not normally need to signal on approach. Stay in this lane until you need to alter course to exit the roundabout. Signal left after you have passed the exit before the one you want. When there are more than 3 lanes at the entrance to a roundabout, use the most appropriate lane on approach and through it. Section Using the road rules 159 to 203. Subsection Roundabouts rules 184 to 190. Rule 187. In all cases, watch out for and give plenty of room to pedestrians who might be crossing the approach and exit roads. Watch out for traffic crossing in front of you on the roundabout, especially vehicles intending to leave by the next exit. Traffic which might be straddling lanes or positioned incorrectly. Watch out for motorcyclists and long vehicles, including those towing trailers. This might have to take a different course or straddle lanes, either approaching or on the roundabout because of their length. Watch out for their signals. Section Using the road rules 159 to 103. Subsection Roundabouts rules 184 to 190. Rule 188. Mini roundabouts. Approach this in the same way as normal roundabouts. All vehicles must pass around the central markings except large vehicles, which are physically incapable of doing so. Remember, there is less space to maneuver and less time to signal. Avoid making U-turns at mini roundabouts. Beware of others doing this. Section Using the road rules 159 to 103. Subsection Roundabouts rules 184 to 190. Rule 189. At the double mini roundabouts, treat each roundabout separately and give way to traffic from the right. Section Using the road rules 159 to 103. Subsection Roundabouts rules 184 to 190. Rule 190. Multiple roundabouts. At some complex junctions, there might be a series of mini roundabouts at each intersection. Treat each mini roundabout separately and follow the normal rules. The section Using the road rules 159 to 103. Subsection Roundabouts rules 184 to 190. Rule 191. You must not park on a crossing or in the area covered by the zigzag lines. You must not overtake the moving vehicle nearest the crossing or the vehicle nearest the crossing which has stopped to give way to pedestrians. Laws. The Zebra, Pelican, and Puffin Pedestrian Crossings Regulations and General Directions and 1997. Regulations 18, 20, and 24. Road Traffic Regulations Act 1984, Section 25, parenthesis 5. The Traffic Signs Regulations and General Directions 2002. The Regulations 10, 27, and 28. The subsection Using the road rules 159 to 103. Subsection Pedestrian Crossings rules 191 to 199. Rule 192. In slow-moving and queuing traffic, you should keep crossings completely clear, as blocking this makes it difficult and dangerous for pedestrians to cross. You should not enter a pedestrian crossing if you are unable to completely clear the crossing. Nor should you block advanced stop lines for cycles. The section Using the road rules 159 to 203. Subsection Pedestrian Crossings rules 191 to 199. Rule 193. You should take extra care where the view of either side of the crossing is blocked by queuing traffic or incorrectly parked vehicles. Pedestrians might be crossing between stationary vehicles. Section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection Pedestrian Crossings, Rules 191 to 199. Rule 194. Allow pedestrians plenty of time to cross. Do not harass them by revving your engine or edging forward. Section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 103. Subsection Pedestrian Crossings, Rules 191 to 199. Rule 195. Zebra and parallel crossings. As you approach a zebra crossing, look out for pedestrians waiting to cross and be ready to slow down or stop to let them cross. You should give way to pedestrians waiting to cross. You must give way when a pedestrian has moved onto a crossing. Allow more time for stopping on wet or icy roads. Do not wave, flash your lights, or use your horn to invite pedestrians across. This could be dangerous if another vehicle is approaching. Be patient. Do not sound your horn or rev your engine, as this can be intimidating. Be aware of pedestrians approaching from the side of the crossing. A zebra crossing with a central island is two separate crossings. Parallel crossings are similar to zebra crossings, but include a cycle route alongside the black and white stripes. As you approach a parallel crossing, look out for pedestrians or cyclists waiting to cross and slow down or stop. You should give way to pedestrians or cyclists waiting to cross. You must give way when a pedestrian or cyclist has moved onto a crossing. Allow more time for stopping on wet or icy roads. Do not wave, flash your lights, or use your horn to invite pedestrians or cyclists across. This could be dangerous if another vehicle is approaching. Be patient, do not sound your horn or rev your engine, as this can be intimidating. Be aware of pedestrians or cyclists approaching from the side of the crossing. A parallel crossing with a central island is two separate crossings. A law, the Traffic Signs Regulations and General Directions, 2016. Schedule 14, Part 5. A section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection Pedestrian Crossings, Rules 191 to 199. Rule 196. Pelican Crossings. These are signal-controlled crossings where flashing amber follows the red stop light. You must stop when the red light shows. When the amber light is flashing, you must give way to any pedestrians on the crossing. If the amber light is flashing and there are no pedestrians on the crossing, you might proceed with caution. Section Using the Road, Rules 159 to 203. Subsection Pedestrian Crossings, Rules 191 to 199. Rule 197. Pelican crossings which go straight across the road are one crossing. Even when there is a central island, you must wait for pedestrians who are crossing from the other side of the island. Laws: the Zebra, Pelican, and Puffing Pedestrian Crossings Regulations and General Directions 1997. Regulations 26, Road Traffic Regulations Act 1984, Section 25, parenthesis 5. The section using the road rules 159 to 203. Subsection Pedestrian Crossings rules 191 to 199. Rule 198. Give way to anyone still crossing after the signal for vehicles has changed to green. This advice applies to all crossings. The section using the road rules 159 to 203. Subsection Pedestrian Crossings rules 191 to 199. Rule 199. Toucan, puffin, and equestrian crossings. These are similar to pelican crossings, but there is no flashing amber phase. The light sequence for traffic at these three crossings is the same as at traffic lights. If the signal-controlled crossing is not working, proceed with extreme caution. Do not enter the crossing if you are unable to completely clear it, to avoid obstructing pedestrians, cyclists, or horse riders. Section using the road rules 159 to 203. Subsection Pedestrian Crossings rules 191 to 199. Rule 200. Choose an appropriate place to maneuver. If you need to turn your vehicle around, wait until you find a safe place. Try not to reverse or turn round in a busy road. Find a quiet side road or drive round a block of side streets. Section using the road rules 159 to 203. Subsection reversing 200 to 203. Rule 201. Do not reverse from a side road into a main road. When using a driveway, reverse in and drive out if you can. Section using the road rules 159 to 203. Subsection reversing rules 200 to 203. Rule 202. Look carefully before you start reversing. You should use all your mirrors. Check the blind spot behind you, the part of the road you cannot see easily in the mirrors. Check there are no pedestrians, particularly children, cyclists, other road users, or obstructions in the road behind you. Reverse slowly while checking all around, while looking mainly through the rear window, being aware that the front of your vehicle will swing out as you turn. Get someone to guide you if you cannot see clearly. Section using the road rules 159 to 203. Subsection reversing rules 200 to 203. Rule 203. You must not reverse your vehicle further than necessary. The law, the Road Vehicles Construction and Use Regulations in 1986, Regulation 106. The section using the road rules 159 to 203. Subsection reversing rules 200 to 203. Rule 204. The road users most at risk from road traffic are pedestrians, in particular children, older adults and disabled people, cyclists, horse riders, and motorcyclists. It is particularly important to be aware of children, older adults, and disabled people, and learner and inexperienced drivers and riders. In any interaction between road users, Those who can cause the greatest harm have the greatest responsibility to reduce the danger of or threat they pose to others. Section Road Users Requiring Extra Care, Rules 204 to 225. Subsection Overview, Rule 204. Rule 205. There is a risk of pedestrians, especially children, stepping unexpectedly into the road. You should drive with safety of children in mind at a speed suitable for the conditions. Section Road Users Requiring Extra Care, Rules 204 to 225. Subsection Pedestrians, Rules 205 to 210. Rule 206. Drive carefully and slowly when in crowded shopping streets, home zones, and quiet lanes, or residential areas, or when driving past bus and tram stops. Pedestrians might emerge suddenly into the road. Be careful when passing parked vehicles, especially ice cream vans. Children are more interested in ice cream than traffic and might run into the road unexpectedly. Drive carefully and slowly when needing to cross a pavement, cycle lane, or cycle track. For example, to reach or leave a driveway or private access. Give way to pedestrians on the pavement and cyclists using a cycle lane or cycle track. Drive carefully when reversing into a side road. Look all around the vehicle and give way to any pedestrians who might be crossing the road. Pay attention when turning at road junctions, as you should give way to pedestrians who are crossing or waiting to cross the road into which or from which you are turning. Be careful going through roadworks or when passing roadside rescue and recovery vehicles, as there might be people working in or at the side of the road. Also pay attention when the pavement is closed due to street repairs and pedestrians are directed to use the road. Drive carefully when approaching pedestrians on narrow rural roads without a footway or footpath. Always slow down and be prepared to stop if necessary, giving them plenty of room as you drive past. When approaching zebra and parallel crossings, as you must give way to pedestrians and cyclists on the crossing. Drive carefully when approaching pedestrians who have started to cross the road ahead of you. They have priority when crossing at the junction or side road, so you should give way. The law, the Traffic Signs Regulations and General Directions 2016, Schedule 14, Part 5, Section Road Users Requiring Extra Care, Rules 204 to 225, Subsection Pedestrians, Rules 205 to 210. Rule 207. Particularly vulnerable pedestrians. This include children and older pedestrians who might not be able to judge your speed and could step into the road in front of you. At 40 miles per hour, 64 kilometers per hour, your vehicle will probably kill any pedestrians it hits. At 20 miles per hour, 32 kilometers per hour, there is only a 1 in 20 chance of the pedestrian being killed, so kill your speed. Be extra careful with older pedestrians who might need more time to cross the road. Be patient and allow them to cross in their own time. Do not hurry them by revving your engine or edging forward, as well as people with disabilities. People with hearing impairments may not be aware of your vehicle approaching. Those with walking difficulties require more time. The blind or partially sighted people who might be carrying a white cane using a guide dog might not be able to see you approaching. Drive carefully when you see deaf-blind people who might be carrying a white cane with a red band or using a dog with a red and white harness. They might not see or hear instructions or signals. Section: Road Users Requiring Extra Care, Rules 204 to 225. Subsection: Pedestrians, Rules 205 to 210. Rule 208. Near schools. Drive slowly and be particularly aware of young cyclists and pedestrians. In some places, there might be a flashing amber signal below the school warning sign, which tells you that there might be children crossing the road ahead. Drive very slowly until you are clear of the area. Section: Road Users Requiring Extra Care, Rules 204 to 225. Subsection: Pedestrians, Rules 205 to 210. Rule 209. Drive carefully and slowly when passing a stationary bus showing a school bus sign, as children might be getting on or off. Section: Road Users Requiring Extra Care, Rules 204 to 225. Subsection: Pedestrians, Rules 205 to 210. Rule 210. You must stop when a school crossing patrol shows a stop for children sign. The law: Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984, Section 28. Section: Road Users Requiring Extra Care, Rules 204 to 225. Subsection: Pedestrians, Rules 205 to 210. Rule 211. It is often difficult to see motorcyclists and cyclists, especially when they are waiting alongside you, coming out from behind, coming out of or moving off from junctions, at roundabouts, overtaking you, or filtering through traffic. Always look out for them before you emerge from a junction. They could be approaching faster than you think. Do not turn at the junction if to do so would cause a cyclist going straight ahead to stop or swerve, just as you would do with a motor vehicle. When turning right across a line of slow-moving or stationary traffic, look out for and give way to cyclists or motorcyclists on the inside of the traffic you are crossing. Be especially careful when moving off, turning, and when changing direction or lane. Be sure to check mirrors and blind spots carefully. Section: Road Users Requiring Extra Care, Rules 204 to 225. Subsections: Motorcyclists and Cyclists, Rules 211 to 213. Rule 212. Give motorcyclists, cyclists, horse riders, horse-drawn vehicles, and pedestrians walking in the road, for example, where there is no pavement, at least as much room as you would when overtaking a car. See Rules 162 to 167. Drivers should take extra care and give more space when overtaking motorcyclists, cyclists, horse riders, horse-drawn vehicles, and pedestrians in bad weather, including high winds and at night. If the rider looks over their shoulder, it could mean that they intend to pull out, turn right, or change direction. Give them time and space to do so. Section: Road Users Requiring Extra Care, Rules 204 to 225. Subsection: Motorcyclists and Cyclists, Rules 211 to 213. Rule 213. On narrow sections of road, on quiet roads or streets, at road junctions and in slow-moving traffic, cyclists might sometimes ride in the center of the lane, rather than towards the side of the road. It can be safer for groups of cyclists to ride two abreast in these situations. Allow them to do so for their own safety, to ensure they can see and be seen. Cyclists are also advised to ride at least a door's width or 1 meter from parked cars for their own safety. On narrow sections of road, horse riders might ride in the center of the lane. Allow them to do so for their own safety to ensure they can see and be seen. Motorcyclists, cyclists, horse riders, and horse-drawn vehicles might suddenly need to avoid uneven road surfaces and obstacles, such as drain covers or oily, wet, or icy patches on the road. Give them plenty of room and pay particular attention to any sudden change of direction they might have to make. The section Road Users Requiring Extra Care, Rules 204 to 225. Subsection Motorcyclists and Cyclists, Rules 211 to 213. Rule 214. Animals. When passing animals, drive slowly. Give them plenty of room and be ready to stop. Do not scare animals by sounding your horn, revving your engine, or accelerating rapidly once you have passed them. Look out for animals being led, driven, or ridden on the road and take extra care. Keep your speed down at bends and on narrow country roads. If a road is blocked by a herd of animals, stop and switch off your engine until they have left the road. Watch out for animals on unfenced roads. The section Road Users Requiring Extra Care, Rules 204 to 225. Subsection Other Road Users, Rules 214 to 218. Rule 215. Horse riders and horse-drawn vehicles. Be particularly careful of horse riders and horse-drawn vehicles, especially when approaching, overtaking, passing, or moving away. Always pass wide and slowly. When you see a horse on a road, you should slow down to a maximum of 10 meters per hour. Be patient, do not sound your horn or rev your engine. When safe to do so, pass wide and slow, allowing at least 2 meters of space. Feral or semi-feral ponies found in areas such as the New Forest, Exmoor, and Dartmoor require the same consideration as ridden horses when approaching or passing. Horse riders are often children, so take extra care and remember riders might ride in double file when escorting a young or inexperienced horse or rider. Look out for horse riders and horse drivers, signals, and heed a request to slow down or stop. Take great care and treat all horses as a potential hazard. They can be unpredictable, despite the efforts of their driver. Remember, there are three brains at work when you pass a horse: the riders, the drivers, and the horses. Do not forget, horses are flight animals and can move incredibly quickly if startled. Section Road Users Requiring Extra Care, Rules 204 to 225. Subsection Other Road Users, Rules 214 to 218. Rule 216. Older drivers. Their reactions might be slower than other drivers. Make allowance for this. The section Road Users Requiring Extra Care, Rules 204 to 225. Subsection Other Road Users, Rules 214 to 218. Rule 217. Learners and inexperienced drivers. They might not be so skillful at anticipating and responding to events. Be particularly patient with learner drivers and young drivers. Drivers who have recently passed a test might display a new driver plate or sticker. Section Road Users Requiring Extra Care, Rules 204 to 225. Subsection Other Road Users, Rules 214 to 218. Rule 218. Home zones and quiet lanes. These are places where people could be using the whole of the road for a range of activities, such as children playing or for a community event. You should drive slowly and carefully and be prepared to stop to allow people extra time to make space for you to pass them in safety. Section Road Users Requiring Extra Care Rules 204 to 225. Subsection Other Road Users Rules 214 to 218. Rule 219. Emergency and Incident Support Vehicles. You should look and listen for ambulances, fire engines, police, doctors, or other emergency vehicles using flashing blue, red, or green lights and sirens or flashing headlights, or traffic officer and incident support vehicles using flashing amber lights. When one approaches, do not panic. Consider the route of such a vehicle and take appropriate action to let it pass, while complying with all traffic signs. If necessary, pull to the side of the road and stop, but try to avoid stopping before the brow of a hill, a bend, or narrow section of road. Do not endanger yourself, other road users, or pedestrians, and avoid mounting the curb. Do not brake harshly on approach to a junction or roundabout, as a following vehicle might not have the same view as you. Section Road Users Requiring Extra Care, Rules 204 to 225. Subsection Other Vehicles, Rules 219 to 225. 220. Powered vehicles used by disabled people. These small vehicles travel at a maximum of speed of 8 meters per hour, that's 12 kilometers per hour, on a dual carriageway where the speed limit exceeds 15 miles per hour, that's 80 kilometers per hour. They must have a flashing amber beacon, but on other roads you might not have that advance warning. The law, the Road Vehicles Lighting Regulations 1989, Regulations 17, parentheses 1 and 26. The section Road Users Requiring Extra Care, Rules 204 to 225. Subsection Other Vehicles, Rules 219 to 225. Rule 221. Large vehicles. These might need extra road space to turn or to deal with a hazard that you are not able to see. If you are following a large vehicle such as a bus or articulated lorry, be aware that the driver may not be able to see you in the mirrors. Be prepared to stop and wait if it needs room or time to turn. Section Road Users Requiring Extra Care, Rules 204 to 225. Subsection Other Vehicles, Rules 219 to 225. Rule 222. Large vehicles can block your view. Your ability to see and plan ahead will be improved if you pull back to increase your separation distance. Be patient, as larger vehicles are subject to lower speed limits than cars and motorcycles. Many large vehicles may be fitted with speed limiting devices which will restrict speed to 56 miles per hour, that's 90 kilometers per hour, even on a motorway. Section Road Users Requiring Extra Care, Rules 204 to 225. Subsection Other Vehicles, Rules 219 to 225. Rule 223. Buses, coaches, and trams. Give priority to these vehicles when you can do so safely, especially when they signal to pull away from stops. Look out for people getting off a bus or a tram and crossing the road. Section Road Users Requiring Extra Care. Rules 204 to 225. Subsection Other Vehicles 219 to 225. Rule 224. Electric Vehicles. Be careful of electric vehicles such as milk floats and trams. Trams move quickly but silently and cannot steer to avoid you. Section Road Users Requiring Extra Care. Rules 204 to 225. Subsection Other Vehicles. Rules 219 to 225. Rule 225. Vehicles with flashing amber beacons. This warns of a slow-moving or stationary vehicle, such as a traffic officer vehicle, salt spreader, snow plow, or recovery vehicle, or abnormal loads, so approach with caution. On unrestricted dual carriageways, most vehicles first used on or after 1st January 1947 with a maximum speed of 25 miles per hour, that's 40 kilometers per hour, or less, such as tractors, must use a flashing amber beacon. The law, the Road Vehicles Lighting Regulations, 1989, Regulation 17, Section Road Users Requiring Extra Care, Rules 204 to 225. Subsection Other Vehicles, Rules 219 to 225. Rule 226. You must use headlights. When visibility is seriously reduced, generally when you cannot see for more than 100 meters, that's about 328 feet. You may also use front or rear fog lights, but you must switch them off when visibility improved. Law, the Road Vehicles Lighting Regulations, 1989, Regulations 25 and 27. Section Driving in Adverse Weather Conditions, Rules 226 to 237. Subsection Overview, Rule 226. Rule 227. Wet weather. In wet weather, stopping distances will be at least double those required for stopping on dry roads. This is because your tires have less grip on the road. In wet weather, you should keep well back from the vehicle in front. This will increase your ability to see and plan ahead. If the steering becomes unresponsive, it probably means that water is preventing the tires from gripping the road. Ease off the accelerator and slow down gradually. The rain and spray from vehicles may make it difficult to see and be seen. Be aware of the dangers of spilled diesel that will make the surface very slippery. Take extra care around pedestrians, cyclists, motorcyclists, and horse riders. Section Driving in Adverse Weather Conditions, Rules 226 to 237. Subsection Wet Weather, Rule 227. Rule 228. In winter, check the local weather forecast for warnings of icy or snowing weather. Do not drive in these conditions unless your journey is essential. If it is, take great care and allow more time for your journey. Take an emergency kit of de-icer and ice scraper, torch, warm clothing and boots, first aid kit, jump leads, and a shovel, together with a warm drink and emergency food in case you get stuck or your vehicle breaks down. Section Driving in Adverse Weather Conditions, Rules 226 to 237. Subsection Icy and snowy weather. Rules 228 to 231. Rule 229. Before you set off, you must be able to see so clear all snow and ice from all your windows. You must ensure that lights are clean and number plates are clearly visible and legible. Make sure the mirrors are clear and the windows are demisted thoroughly. Remove all snow that might fall off into the path of other road users. Check your planned route is clear of delays and that no further snowfalls or severe weather are predicted. A section Driving in Adverse Weather Conditions Rules 226 to 237. Subsection Icy and Snowy Weather Rules 228 to 231. Rule 230. When driving in icy or snowy weather, drive with care for if the roads have been treated. Keep well back from the road user in front as stopping distances can be 10 times greater than on dry roads. Take care when overtaking vehicles spreading salt or other de-icer, particularly if you are riding a motorcycle or cycle. Watch out for snow plugs which might throw out snow on either side. Do not overtake them unless the lane you intend to use has been cleared. Be prepared for the road conditions to change over relatively short distances. Listen to travel bulletins and take note of variable message signs that might provide information about weather, road, and traffic conditions ahead. Section Driving in Adverse Weather Conditions Rules 226 to 237. Subsection Icy and Snowy Weather Rules 228 to 231. Rule 231. Drive extremely carefully when the roads are icy. Avoid sudden actions as this could cause loss of control. You should drive at a slow speed in as high a gear as possible. Accelerate and brake very gently. Drive particularly slowly on bends where loss of control is more likely. Brake progressively on the straight before you reach a bend. Having slowed down, steer smoothly round the bend, avoiding sudden actions. Check your grip on the road surface when there is snow or ice by choosing a safe place to brake gently. If the steering feels unresponsive, this might indicate ice and your vehicle losing its grip on the road. When traveling on ice, tires make virtually no noise. Section Driving in Adverse Weather Conditions Rules 226 to 237. Subsection Icy and Snowy Weather Rules 228 to 231. Rule 232. High-sided vehicles are most affected by windy weather, but strong gusts can also blow a car, cyclist, motorcyclist, or horse rider of course. This can happen on open stretches of road exposed to strong crosswinds, or when passing bridges or gaps in hedges. Section Driving in Adverse Weather Conditions Rules 226 to 237. Subsection Windy Weather Rules 232 to 233. Rule 233. In very windy weather, your vehicle might be affected by turbulence created by large vehicles. Motorcyclists are particularly affected, so keep well back from them when they are overtaking a high-sided vehicle. Section Driving in Adverse Weather Conditions Rules 226 to 237. Subsection Windy Weather Rules 232 to 233. Rule 234. Before entering fog, check your mirrors, then slow down. If the word fog is shown on a roadside signal, but the road is clear, be prepared for a bank of fog or drifting patchy fog ahead. Even if it seems to be clearing, you can suddenly find yourself in thick fog. Section Driving in Adverse Weather Conditions, Rules 226 to 237. Subsection Fog, Rules 234 to 236. Rule 235. When driving in fog, you should use your lights as required. Keep a safe distance behind the vehicle in front. Rear lights can give a false sense of security. You should be able to pull up well within the distance you can see clearly. This is particularly important on motorways and dual carriageways, as vehicles are traveling faster. Use your windscreen wipers and demisters. Beware of other drivers not using headlights. Don't accelerate to get away from a vehicle which is too close behind you. Check your mirrors before you slow down. Then use your brakes so that your brake lights warn drivers behind you that you are slowing down. Stop in the correct position at the junction with limited visibility and listen for traffic. When you are sure it is safe to emerge, do so positively and do not hesitate in a position that puts you directly in the path of approaching vehicles. Section Driving in Adverse Weather Conditions, Rules 226 to 237. Subsection Fog, Rules 234 to 236. Rule 236. You must not use front or rear fog lights unless visibility is seriously, as they dazzle other road users and can obscure brake lights. You must switch them off when visibility improves. Law, the Road Vehicles Lighting Regulations, 1989, Regulations 25 and 27. Section Driving in Adverse Weather Conditions, Rules 226 to 237. Subsection Fog, Rules 234 to 236. Rule 237. Keep your vehicle well ventilated to avoid drowsiness. Be aware that the road surface may become soft, or if it rains after a dry spell, it might become slippery. These conditions could affect your steering and braking. If you are dazzled by bright sunlight, slow down and if necessary, stop. Section Driving in Adverse Weather Conditions, Rules 226 to 237. Subsection Hot Weather, Rule 237. Rule 238. You must not wait or park on yellow lines during the times of operation shown on nearby time plates or zone entry signs if in a controlled parking zone. Double yellow lines indicate a prohibition of waiting at any time, even if there are no upright signs. You must not wait or park or stop to set down and pick up passengers on school entrance markings when upright signs indicate a prohibition of stopping. Law, Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984, Sections 5 and 8. Section Waiting and Parking Rules 238 to 252. Subsection General Rule 238. Rule 239. Use off-street parking areas or bays marked out with white lines on the road as parking places wherever possible. If you have to stop on the roadside, do not park facing against the traffic flow. Stop as close as you can to the side. Do not stop too close to a vehicle displaying a blue badge. Remember, the occupant might need more room to get in or out. You must switch off the engine, headlights and fog lights. You must apply the handbrake before leaving the vehicle. You must ensure you do not hit anyone when you open your door. Check for cyclists or other traffic by looking all around and using your mirrors. Where you are able to do so, You should open the door using your hand on the opposite side to the door you are opening. For example, use your left hand to open a door on your right hand side. This will make you turn your head to look over your shoulder. You are then more likely to avoid causing injury to cyclists or motorcyclists passing you on the road, or to people on the pavement. It's safer for your passengers, especially children, to get out of the vehicle on the side next to the curb. If you have to stop, put all valuables out of sight and make sure your vehicle is secure and locked. Before using a handheld device to help you to park, you must make sure it is safe to do so. Then, you should move the vehicle into the parking space in the safest way and by the shortest route possible. When you use a handheld device to help you to park, you must remain in control of the vehicle at all times. Do not use a handheld device for anything else while you are using it to help you park, and do not put anyone in danger. Use the handheld device according to the manufacturer's instructions. When using an electric vehicle charge point, you should park close to the charge point and avoid creating a trip hazard for pedestrians from trailing cables. Display a warning sign if you can. After using the charge point, you should return charging cables and connectors neatly to minimize the danger to pedestrians and avoid creating an obstacle for other road users. Laws. The Road Vehicles Construction and Use, Regulations 1986, Regulations 98, 105, 107, and 110, and the Road Vehicles Lighting Regulations 1989, Regulation 27, and Road Traffic Act 1988, Section 42. Section Waiting and Parking, Rules 238 to 252. Subsection Parking, Rules 239 to 247. Rule 240. You must not stop or park on the carriageway or the hard shoulder of a motorway except in an emergency. A pedestrian crossing, including the area marked by the zigzag lines. A clearway. Taxi bays as indicated by upright signs and markings. An urban clearway within its hours of operation except to pick up or set down passengers. See traffic signs. A road marked with double white lines, even when a broken white line is on your side of the road, except to pick up or set down passengers, or to load or unload goods. A tram or a cycle lane during its period of operation. A cycle track. Red lines in the case of specially designated red routes unless otherwise indicated by signs. Any vehicle may enter a bus lane to stop, load, or unload where this is not prohibited. Laws. The Motorways Traffic, England and Wales, Regulations 1982, Regulations 7 and 9. The Motorways Traffic, Scotland, Regulations 1995, Regulations 6 and 8. The Zebra, Pelican and Puffin Pedestrian Crossings Regulations and General Directions 1997, Regulations 18 and 20. Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984, Sections 5, 6, and 8. The Traffic Signs Regulations and General Directions 2002, Regulations 10, 26, and 27, and the Road Traffic Act 1988, Sections 21, parentheses 1, and 36. Rule 241. You must not park in parking spaces reserved for specific users, such as blue badge holders, residents, or motorcycles, unless entitled to do so. The laws. Chronically Sick and Disabled Persons Act 1970, Section 21, and Traffic Regulation Act 1984, Sections 5 and 8. Section Waiting and Parking Rules 238 to 252. Subsection Parking Rules 239 to 247. Rule 242. You must not leave your vehicle or trailer in a dangerous position or where it causes any unnecessary obstruction of the road. Laws. The Road Traffic Act 1988, Section 22. The Road Vehicles Construction and Use Regulations 1986, Regulation 103. Section Waiting and Parking Rules 238 to 252. Subsection Parking Rules 239 to 247. Rule 243. Do not stop or park near a school entrance. Anywhere you would prevent access for emergency services, at or near a bus or tram stop or taxi rank. On the approach to a level crossing, tramway crossing. Opposite or within 10 meters 32 feet of a junction except in an authorized parking space. Near the brow of a hill or hump bridge. Opposite a traffic island or, if this would cause an obstruction, another parked vehicle. Where you would force other traffic to enter a tram lane. Where the curb has been lowered to help wheelchair users and power mobility vehicles. In front of an entrance to a property. On a bend. Where you would obstruct cyclists' use of cycle facilities, except when forced to do so by stationary traffic. Section Waiting and Parking Rules 238 to 252. Subsection Parking Rules 239 to 247. Rule 244. You must not park partially or wholly on the pavement in London and should not do so elsewhere unless signs permit it. Parking on the pavement can obstruct and seriously inconvenience pedestrians, people in wheelchairs or with visual impairments, and people with prams or pushchairs. A law, Greater London Council General Powers Act 1974, Section 15. Section Waiting and Parking Rules 238 to 252. Subsection Parking Rules 239 to 247. Rule 245. Controlled Parking Zones. The zone entry signs indicate the times when the waiting restrictions within the zone are enforced. Parking might be allowed in some places at other times. Otherwise, parking will be within separately signed and marked bays. Section Waiting and Parking Rules 238 to 252. Subsection Parking Rules 239 to 247. Rule 246. Goods Vehicles. Vehicles with a maximum laden weight of over 7.5 tons, including any trailer, must not be parked on a verge, pavement, or any land situated between carriageways without police permission. The only exception is when parking is essential for loading and unloading, in which case the vehicle must not be left unattended. The law, Road Traffic Act 1988, Section 19. Section Waiting and Parking Rules 238 to 252. Subsection Parking Rules 239 to 247. Rule 247. Loading and unloading. Do not load or unload where there are yellow markings on the curb and upright signs advise restrictions are in place. This might be permitted where parking is otherwise restricted. On red routes, specially marked and sign bays indicate where and when loading and unloading is permitted. A law, Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984, Sections 5 and 8. Section Waiting and Parking, Rules 238 to 252. Subsection Parking, Rules 239 to 247. Rule 248. You must not park on a road at night facing against the direction of the traffic flow unless in a recognized parking space. The laws. The Road Vehicles Construction and Use Regulations 1986, Regulation 101, and the Road Vehicles Lighting Regulations 1989, Regulation 24. Section Waiting and Parking Rules 238 to 252. Subsection Parking at Night Rules 248 to 252. Rule 249. All vehicles must display parking lights when parked on a road or a lay-by on a road with a speed limit greater than 30 miles per hour. That's 48 kilometers per hour. Law. The Road Vehicles Lighting Regulations 1989, Regulation 24. Section Waiting and Parking Rules 238 to 252. Subsection Parking at Night Rules 248 to 252. Rule 250. Cars, goods, vehicles not exceeding 2,500 kilograms laden weight, invalid carriages, motorcycles and pedal cycles might be parked without lights on a road or lay by with a speed limit of 30 miles per hour, that's 48 kilometers per hour, or less if they are at least 10 meters 32 feet away from any junction, close to the curb and facing in the direction of the traffic flow, in a recognized parking place or lay-by. Other vehicles and trailers and all vehicles with projecting loads must not be left on a road at night without lights. Laws. The Road Vehicles Lighting Regulations 1989, Regulation 24, and the Road Vehicles Construction and Use Regulations 1986, Regulation 82, parenthesis 7. Section Waiting and Parking Rules 238 to 252. Subsection Parking at Night Rules 248 to 252. Rule 251. Parking in fog. It is especially dangerous to park on the road in fog. If it is unavoidable, leave your parking lights or side lights on. Section Waiting and Parking Rules 238 to 252. Subsection Parking at Night Rules 248 to 252. Rule 252. Parking on hills. If you park on a hill, you should park close to the curb and apply the handbrake firmly. Select the forward gear and turn your steering wheel away from the curb when facing uphill. Select reverse gear and turn your steering wheel towards the curb when facing downhill. Use park if your car has an automatic gearbox. Section Waiting and Parking Rules 238 to 252. Subsection Parking at Night Rules 248 to 252. Rule 253. Prohibited vehicles. Motorways must not be used by pedestrians, holders of provisional motorcycle or car licenses, riders of motorcycles under 50 cc, cyclists, horse riders, certain slow-moving vehicles, and those carrying oversized loads except by special permission, agricultural vehicles, and powered wheelchairs, powered mobility scooters. Starting 4th of June 2018, provisional license holders are allowed to drive on the motorway if they are accompanied by an approved driving instructor and are driving a car displaying red L plates, D plates in Wales, that's fitted with dual control. The laws. Highways Act 1980, Section 16, 17, and Schedule 4. The motorways traffic England and Wales Regulations 1982. Regulations 3 parentheses D, 4 and 11. The Motorways Traffic England and Wales Amendment Regulations 2004. Roads Scotland Act 1984. Sections 7, 8 and Schedule 3. Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984. Sections 17 parentheses 2 and 3. And the Motorways Traffic Scotland Regulations 1995, Regulations 10. Section Motorways Rules 253 to 273. Subsection General Rules 253 to 254. Rule 254. Traffic on motorways usually travels faster than on other roads, so you have less time to react. It is especially important to use your mirrors earlier and look much further ahead than you would on other roads. Section Motorways Rules 253 to 273. Subsection General Rules 253 to 254. Rule 255. Motorway signals are used to warn you of a danger ahead. For example, there might be an incident, fog, a spillage or road workers on the carriageway which you might not immediately be able to see. Section Motorways Rules 253 to 273. Subsection Motorway Signals Rules 255 to 258. Rule 256. Signals situated on the central reservation apply to all lanes. On very busy stretches, signals might be overhead, with a separate signal for each lane. Section Motorways Rules 253 to 273. Subsection Motorway Signals Rules 255 to 258. Rule 257. Amber flashing lights. These warn of a hazard ahead. The signal might show a temporary maximum speed limit, lanes that are closed, or a message suggests fog. Adjust your speed and look out for the danger until you pass a signal which is not flashing or one that gives the all clear sign and you are sure it is safe to increase your speed. Section Motorways Rules 253 to 273. Subsection Motorway Signals Rules 255 to 258. Rule 258. Red flashing lights. If red lights flash on a signal and a red X is showing, you must not drive in the lane shown as closed beyond the signal. This applies until you pass another signal indicating that the line is no longer closed by displaying the word end or a speed limit sign and you are sure that it is safe to proceed. Red flashing lights. If red lights flash on a signal in the central reservation or on the side of the road and lane closed sign is showing, you must not go beyond the signal in any lane. Laws. Road Traffic Act 1988, Section 36. Traffic Signs Regulations and General Directions 2002, Regulations 3, Schedule 15. Section Motorways Rules 253 to 273. Subsection Motor Signals Rules 255 to 258. Rule 259. Joining the motorway. When you join the motorway, you will normally approach it from a road on the left, a slip road, or from an adjoining motorway. You should give priority to traffic already on the motorway. Check the traffic on the motorway and match your speed to fit safely into the traffic flow in the left-hand lane. Not cross solid white lines that separate lanes or use the hard shoulder. Stay on the slip road if it continues as an extra lane on the motorway. Remain in the left-hand lane long enough to adjust to the speed of traffic before considering overtaking. Section Motorways Rules 253 to 273. Subsection Joining the motorway, Rule 259. Rule 260. When you can see well ahead and the road conditions are good, you should drive at a steady cruising speed which you and your vehicle can handle safely and is within the speed limit. Keep a safe distance from the vehicle in front and increase the gap on wet or icy roads or in fog. Section Motorways, Rules 253 to 273. Subsection On the motorway, Rules 260 to 263. Rule 261. You must not exceed 70 miles per hour, that's 112 kilometers per hour, or the maximum speed limit permitted to your vehicle. If a lower speed limit is in force, either permanently or temporarily, at road works, for example, you must not exceed the lower limit. On some motorways, mandatory motorway signals which display the speed within a red ring are used to vary the maximum speed limit to improve traffic flow. You must not exceed this speed limit. Law. Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984, Sections 17, 86, 89, and Schedule 6. Section Motorways, Rules 253 to 273. Subsection On the motorway, Rules 260 to 263. Rule 262. The monotony of driving on a motorway can make you feel sleepy. To minimize the risk, follow the advice in Rule 91, mentioned in Part 1. Section Motorways, Rules 253 to 273, Subsection On the motorway, Rules 260 to 263. Rule 263. You must not reverse cross the central reservation or drive against the traffic flow. If you have missed your exit or have taken the wrong route, carry on to the next exit. Laws. The Motorways Traffic England and Wales Regulations 1982, Regulations 6, 8 and 10. The Motorways Traffic Scotland Regulations 1995, Regulations 4, 5, 7 and 9. Section Motorways Rules 253 to 273. Subsection On the motorway, Rules 260 to 263. Rule 264. You should always drive in the left-hand lane when the road ahead is clear. If you are overtaking a number of slow-moving vehicles, you should return to the left-hand lane as soon as you are safely passed. Slow-moving or speed-restricted vehicles should always remain in the left-hand lane of the carriageway unless overtaken. You must not drive on the hard shoulder except in an emergency or if directed to do so by the police, traffic officers in uniform, or by signs. Laws. The Motorways Traffic England and Wales Regulations 1982, Regulations 5, 9 and 16, parenthesis 1a. The Motorways Traffic Scotland Regulations 1995, Regulations 4, 8 and 14, parenthesis 1a. And the Road Traffic Act 1988, Sections 35 and 186, as amended by Traffic Management Act Section 6. Section Motorways Rules 253 to 273. Subsection Lane Discipline Rules 264 to 266. Rule 265. The right-hand lane of a motorway with 3 or more lanes must not be used except in prescribed circumstances if you are driving. Any vehicle drawing a trailer, a goods vehicle with a maximum laden weight exceeding 3.5 tons but not exceeding 7.5 tons, which is required to be fitted with a speed limiter. A goods vehicle with maximum laden weight exceeding 7.5 tons. A passenger vehicle with a maximum laden weight exceeding 7.5 tons are constructed or adapted to carry more than 8 seated passengers in addition to the driver. A passenger vehicle with a maximum laden weight not exceeding 7.5 tons, which is constructed or adapted to carry more than 8 seated passengers in addition to the driver, which is required to be fitted with a speed limiter. Laws: the Motorway Traffic England and Wales, Regulations 1982, Regulations 12. The Motorways Traffic England and Wales Amendment, Regulations 2004. The Motorways Traffic Scotland, Regulations 1995, Regulations 11. The Motorways Traffic Scotland Amendment, Regulations 2004. Section Motorways, Rules 253 to 273, subsection Lane Discipline, Rules 264 to 266. Rule 266. Approaching a junction. Look well ahead for signals or signs. Direction signs might be placed over the road. If you need to change lanes, do so in good time. At some junctions, a lane might lead directly off the motorway. Only get in that lane if you wish to go in the direction indicated on the overhead signs. Section Motorways, Rules 253 to 273. Subsection Lane Discipline, Rules 264 to 266. Rule 267. Do not overtake unless you are sure it is safe and legal to do so. Overtake only on the right. You should check your mirrors, take time to judge the speeds correctly. Make sure that the lane you will be joining is sufficiently clear ahead and behind. Take a quick sideways glance into the blind spot area to verify the position of a vehicle that might have disappeared from your view in the mirror. Remember that traffic might be coming up behind you very quickly. Check all your mirrors carefully. Look out for motorcyclists. When it is safe to do so, signal in plenty of time, then move out. Ensure you do not cut in on the vehicle you have overtaken. Be especially careful at night and in poor visibility when it is harder to judge speed and distance. Section Motorways, Rules 253 to 273. Subsection Overtaking, Rules 267 to 269. Rule 268. Do not overtake on the left or move to a lane on your left to overtake. In congested conditions where adjacent lanes of traffic are moving at similar speeds, traffic in left-hand lanes might sometimes be moving faster than traffic to the right. In these conditions, you might keep up with the traffic in your lane, even if this means passing traffic in the lane to your right. Do not weave in and out of lanes to overtake. Section Motorways, Rules 253 to 273. Subsection Overtaking, Rules 267 to 269. Rule 269. Hard shoulder. You must not use the hard shoulder for overtaking. In areas where an active traffic management (ATM) scheme is enforced, the hard shoulder might be used as a running lane. You will know when you can use this because a speed limit sign will be shown above all open lanes, including the hard shoulder. A red cross or blank sign above the hard shoulder means that you must not drive on the hard shoulder except in an emergency or breakdown. Emergency refuge areas have also been built into these areas for use in case of emergency or breakdown. Section Motorways, Rules 253 to 273, subsection Overtaking, Rules 267 to 269. The laws: the Motorways Traffic, England and Wales, Regulations 1982, Regulations 5, 5A, and 9, and the Motorways Traffic Scotland, Regulations 1995, Regulations 4 and 8. Rule 270. You must not stop on the carriageway, hard shoulder, slip road, central reservation or verge except in an emergency, or when told to do so by the police, traffic officers in uniform, an emergency sign, or by flashing red light signals. Do not stop on the hard shoulder to either make or receive mobile phone calls. Laws. The Motorways Traffic, England and Wales, Regulations 1982, Regulations 5A, 7, 9, 10 and 16. The Motorways Traffic, Scotland, Regulations 1995, Regulations 6, parentheses 1, 8, 9 and 14. Police Reform Act Section 41 and Schedule 5, parentheses 8, and the Road Traffic Act 1988, Sections 35 and 163, as amended by Traffic Management Act Section 6. Section Motorways Rules 253 to 273. Subsection Stopping Rules 270 to 271. Rule 271. You must not pick up or set down anyone or walk on a motorway except in an emergency. Laws. Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984, Section 17, and the Motorways Traffic in England and Wales, Regulations 1982, Regulations 15. Section Motorways Rules 253 to 273. Subsection Stopping Rules 270 to 271. Rule 272. Unless signs indicate that the lane leads directly off the motorway, you will normally leave the motorway by a slip road on your left. You should watch for the signs letting you know you are getting near your exit. Move into the left-hand lane well before reaching your exit. Signal left in good time and reduce your speed on the slip road as necessary. Section Motorways Rules 253 to 273. Subsection Leaving the Motorway Rules 272 to 273. Rule 273. On leaving the motorway or using a link road between motorways, your speed might be higher than you realize. 50 meters per hour might feel like 30 meters per hour. Check your speedometer and adjust your speed accordingly. Some slip roads and link roads have sharp bends, so you will need to slow down. Section Motorways Rules 253 to 273. Subsection Leaving the motorway Rules 272 to 273. Rule 274. If your vehicle breaks down, think first of all other road users and get your vehicle off the road if possible. Warn other traffic by using your hazard warning lights if your vehicle is causing an obstruction. Help other road users see you by wearing light-colored or fluorescent clothing in daylight and reflecting clothing at night or in poor visibility. Put a warning triangle on the road at least 45 meters, that's 147 feet, behind your broken down vehicle on the same side of the road, or use other permitted warning devices if you have them. Always take great care when placing or retrieving them, but never use them on motorways. If possible, keep your side lights on if it is dark or visibility is poor. Do not stand or let anybody else stand between your vehicle and oncoming traffic. At night or in poor visibility, do not stand where you will prevent other road users seeing your lights. Section Breakdown and Incidents Rules 274 to 287. Subsection Breakdowns Rule 274. Rule 275. If your vehicle develops a problem, leave the motorway at the next exit or pull into a service area. If you cannot do so, you should. Pull onto the hard shoulder and stop as far to the left as possible with your wheels turned to the left. Try to stop near an emergency telephone situated at approximately 1 mile intervals along the hard shoulder. Leave the vehicle by the left-hand door and ensure your passengers do the same. You must leave any animals in the vehicle or, in an emergency, keep them under proper control on the verge. Never attempt to place a warning triangle on a motorway. Do not put yourself in danger by attempting even simple repairs. Ensure that passengers keep away from the carriageway and harsh odor, and that children are kept under control. Walk to an emergency telephone on your side of the carriageway. Follow the arrows on the posts at the back of the harsh odor. The telephone is free of charge and connects directly to an operator. Use this in preference to a mobile phone. See Rule 283. Always face the traffic when you speak on the phone. Give full details to the operator. Also inform them if you are a vulnerable motorist, such as disabled, older, or traveling alone. Return and wait near your vehicle, well away from the carriageway and harsh odor. If you feel at risk from another person, return to your vehicle by a left-hand door and lock all doors. Leave your vehicle again as soon as you feel this danger has passed. Laws. The Motorways Traffic, England and Wales, Regulations 1982, Regulations 14, and the Motorways Traffic, Scotland Regulations 1995, Regulations 12. Section Breakdowns and Incidents, Rules 174 to 287. Subsection Additional Rules for Motorways, Rules 275 to 278. Rule 276. Before you rejoin the carriageway after a breakdown, build up speed on the harsh order and watch for a safe gap in the traffic. Before you rejoin the carriageway after a breakdown, build up speed on the harsh order and watch for a safe gap in the traffic. Be aware that other vehicles might be stationary on the harsh order. Section Breakdown Incidents Rules 274 to 287. Subsection Additional Rules for Motorways, Rules 175 to 178. Rule 277. If you cannot get your vehicle onto the harsh order, do not attempt to place any warning device on the carriageway. Switch on your hazard warning lights. Leave your vehicle only when you can safely get clear of the carriageway. Section Breakdowns and Incidents Rules 274 to 287. Subsection Additional Rules for Motorways, Rules 275 to 278. Rule 278. Disabled drivers. If you have a disability which prevents you from following the above advice, you should stay in your vehicle. Switch on your hazard warning lights. Display a help pennant, or if you have a car or mobile telephone, contact the emergency services and be prepared to advise them of your location. Section Breakdowns and Incidents Rules 274 to 287. Subsection Additional Rules for Motorways, Rules 275 to 278. Rule 279. If anything falls from your vehicle or any other vehicle onto the road, stop and retrieve it only if it is safe to do so. Section Breakdowns and Incidents Rules 174 to 287. Subsection Obstructions Rules 179 to 280. Rule 280. Motorways. On a motorway, do not try to remove the obstruction yourself. Stop at the next emergency telephone and call for help. Section Breakdowns and Incidents Rules 274 to 287. Subsection Obstructions Rules 179 to 280. Rule 281. Warning signs or flashing lights. If you see or hear emergency or incident support vehicles in the distance, be aware there might be an incident ahead. Police officers and traffic officers might be required to work in the carriageway, for example dealing with debris. collisions, or conducting rolling road blocks. Police officers will use rear-facing flashing red and blue lights, and traffic officers will use rear-facing flashing red and amber lights in these situations. Watch out for such signals. Slow down and be prepared to stop. You must follow any directions given by police officers or traffic officers as to whether you can safely pass the incident or blockage. Laws: Road Traffic Act 1988, Sections 35 and 163, as amended by Traffic Management Act Section 6. Section: Breakdowns and Incidents Rules 274-287. Subsection: Incidents Rules 281-283. Rule 282. When passing the scene of an incident or crash, do not be distracted or slow down unnecessarily. For example, if an incident is on the other side of a dual carriageway, this might cause a collision or traffic congestion. Section: Breakdowns and Incidents Rules 274 to 287. Subsection: Incidents Rules 281 to 283. Rule 283. If you are involved in a crash or stop to give assistance, use your hazard warning lights to warn other traffic. Ask drivers to switch off their engines and stop smoking. Arrange for the emergency services to be called immediately with full details of the incident location and any casualties. On a motorway, use the emergency telephone, which allows easy location by the emergency services. If you use a mobile phone, first make sure you have identified your location from the marker posts on the side of the hard shoulder. Move uninjured people away from the vehicles to safety. On a motorway, they should, if possible, be well away from the traffic, the hard shoulder, and the central reservation. Do not move injured people from their vehicles unless they are in immediate danger from fire or explosion. Do not remove a motorcyclist's helmet unless it is essential to do so. Be prepared to give first aid. Stay at the scene until emergency services arrive. If you are involved in any other medical emergency on the motorway, you should contact the emergency services in the same way. Section: Breakdowns and Incidents Rules 274 to 287. Subsection: Incidents Rules 281 to 283. Rule 284. Vehicles carrying dangerous goods and packages will be marked with plain orange reflective plates. Road tankers and vehicles carrying tank containers of dangerous goods will have hazard warning plates. Section: Breakdowns and Incidents Rules 174 to 187. Subsection: Incidents involving dangerous goods Rules 184 to 185. Rule 285. If an incident involves a vehicle containing dangerous goods, follow the advice in the previous rule 283, and in particular, switch off engines and do not smoke. Keep well away from the vehicle and do not be tempted to try to rescue casualties, as you yourself could become one. Call the emergency services and give as much information as possible about the labels and markings on the vehicle. Do not use a mobile phone close to a vehicle carrying flammable loads. Section: Breakdowns and Incidents Rules 274 to 287. Subsection: Incidents involving dangerous goods Rules 184 to 285. Rule 286. If you are involved in a collision which causes damage or injury to any other person, vehicle, animal, or property, you must stop. Give your own and the vehicle owner's name and address, and the registration number of the vehicle to anyone having reasonable grounds for requiring them. If you do not give your name and address at the time of the collision, report it to the police as soon as reasonably practicable, and in any case within 24 hours. Law, Road Traffic Act 1988, Section 170. Section, Breakdowns and Incidents, Rules 274 to 287. Subsection, Documentation, Rules 286 to 287. Rule 287. If another person is injured and you do not produce your insurance certificate at the time of the crash to a police officer or to anyone having reasonable grounds to request it, you must report it to the police as soon as possible and in any case within 24 hours. Produce your insurance certificate for the police within 7 days. Law, Road Traffic Act 1988, Section 170. Section, Breakdowns and Incidents, Rules 274 to 287. Subsection, Documentation, Rules 286 to 287. Rule 288. When the road works ahead sign is displayed, you will need to be more watchful and look for additional signs providing more specific instructions. Observe all signs. They are there for your safety and the safety of road workers. You must not exceed any temporary maximum speed limit. Use your mirrors and get into the correct lane for your vehicle in good time and as signs direct. Do not switch lanes to overtake queuing traffic. Take extra care near cyclists and motorcyclists as they are vulnerable to skidding on grit, mud, or other debris at the road works. Where lanes are restricted due to roadworks, merge in turn. Do not drive through an area marked off by traffic cones. Watch out for traffic entering or leaving the work area, but do not be distracted by what is going on there. Concentrate on the road ahead, not the roadworks. Bear in mind that the road ahead might be obstructed by the works or by slow-moving or stationary traffic. Keep a safe distance. There could be queues in front. Law, Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984, Section 16. Section, Roadworks, Level Crossings and Tramways, Rules 188 to 307. Subsection, Roadworks, Rule 288. Rule 289. Take special care on motorways and other high-speed dual carriageways. One or more lanes might be closed to traffic and the low speed limit might apply. Works vehicles that are slow-moving or stationary with a large keep left or keep right sign on the back are sometimes used to close lanes for repairs, and the flashing light arrow might also be used to make the works vehicle more conspicuous from a distance and give earlier warning to drivers that they need to move over to the next lane. Check mirrors, slow down, and change lanes if necessary. Keep a safe distance from the vehicle in front. Section, Roadworks, Level Crossings and Tramways, Rules 288 to 307. Subsection, Additional Rules for High-Speed Roads, Rules 289 to 290. Rule 290. Contraflow systems mean that you might be traveling in a narrower lane than normal and with no permanent barrier between you and oncoming traffic. The harsh order might be used for traffic, but be aware that there might be broken down vehicles ahead of you. Keep a good distance from the vehicle ahead and observe any temporary speed limits. Section, Roadworks, Level Crossings and Tramways, Rules 288 to 307. Subsection, Additional Rules for High-Speed Roads, Rules 189 to 290. Rule 291. A level crossing is where a road crosses a railway or tramway line. Approach and cross it with care. Never drive onto a crossing until the road is clear on the other side, and do not get too close to the car in front. Never stop or park on or near a crossing. Section, Roadworks, Level Crossings and Tramways, Rules 288 to 307. Subsection, Level Crossings, Rules 291 to 299. Rule 292. Overhead electric lines. It is dangerous to touch overhead electric lines. You must obey the safe height warning road signs, and you should not continue forward onto the railway if your vehicle touches any height barrier or bells. The clearance available is usually 5 meters, 16 feet and 6 inches, but might be lower. Laws. Road Traffic Act 1988, Section 36, and the Traffic Signs Regulations and General Directions 2002. Regulation 17, parenthesis 5. Section Roadworks, Level Crossings and Tramways, Rules 288 to 307. Subsection Level Crossings, Rules 191 to 299. Rule 293. Controlled crossings. Most crossings have traffic light signals with a steady amber light, twin flashing red stop lights, and an audible alarm for pedestrians. They might have full, half, or no barriers. You must always obey the flashing red stop lights. You must stop behind the white line across the road. Keep going if you have already crossed the white line when the amber light comes on. Do not reverse onto or over a controlled crossing. You must wait if a train goes by and the red lights continue to flash. This means another train will be passing soon. Only cross when the lights go off and barriers open. Never zigzag around half barriers, they lower automatically because a train is approaching. At crossings without barriers, a train is approaching when the lights show. Laws. Road Traffic Act 1988, Section 36, and the Traffic Signs Regulations and General Directions 2002. Regulations 10 and 40. Section Roadworks, Level Crossings and Tramways, Rules 188 to 307. Subsection Level Crossings, Rules 191 to 299. Rule 294. Railway telephones. If you are driving a large or slow-moving vehicle, a long, low vehicle with the risk of grounding, or herding animals, a train could arrive before you are clear of the crossing. You must obey any sign instructing you to use the railway telephone to obtain permission to cross. You must also telephone when clear of the crossing if requested to do so. Laws. Road Traffic Act 1988, Section 36, and the Traffic Signs, Regulations and General Directions 2002, Regulations 10 and 16, parenthesis 1. Section Roadworks, Level Crossings and Tramways, Rules 188 to 307. Subsection Level Crossings, Rules 191 to 299. Rule 295. Crossings without traffic lights. Vehicles should stop and wait the barrier or gate when it begins to close and not cross until the barrier or gate opens. Section Roadworks, Level Crossings and Tramways, Rules 188 to 307. Subsection Level Crossings, Rules 191 to 299. Rule 296. User-operated gates or barriers. Some crossings have stop signs and small red and green lights. You must not cross when the red light is showing, only cross if the green light is on. If crossing with a vehicle, you should open the gates or barriers on both sides of the crossing. Check that the green light is still on and cross quickly. Close the gates or barriers when you are clear of the crossing. Laws. Road Traffic Act 1988, Section 36, and the Traffic Signs Regulations and General Directions 2012. 2. Regulations 10 and 52, parenthesis 2. Section Roadworks, Level Crossings and Tramways, Rules 188 to 307. Subsection Level Crossings, Rules 191 to 299. Rule 297. If there are no lights, follow the procedure in Rule 296, the previous rule we just covered. Stop, look both ways, and listen before you cross. If there is a railway telephone, always use it to contact the signal operator to make sure it is safe to cross. Inform the signal operator again when you are clear of the crossing. Section Roadworks, Level Crossings and Tramways. Rules 288 to 307. Subsection Level Crossings. Rules 291 to 299. Rule 298. Open crossings. These have no gates, barriers, attendant, or traffic lights, but will have a give-way sign. You should look both ways, listen, and make sure there is no train coming before you cross. Section Roadworks, Level Crossings and Tramways. Rules 188 to 307. Subsection Level Crossings. Rules 191 to 299. Rule 299. Incidents and breakdowns. If your vehicle breaks down, or if you have an incident on a crossing, you should get everyone out of the vehicle and clear off the crossing immediately. Use the railway telephone if available to tell the signal operator. Follow the instructions you are given. Move the vehicle clear of the crossing if there is time before a train arrives. If the alarm sounds or the amber light comes on, leave the vehicle and get clear of the crossing immediately. Section Roadworks, Level Crossings and Tramways. Rules 188 to 307. Subsection Level Crossings. Rules 291 to 299. Rule 300. You must not enter a road, lane, or other route reserved for trams. Take extra care where trams run along the road. You should avoid driving directly on top of the rails and should take care where trams leave the main carriageway to enter a reserved route to ensure you do not follow them. The width taken up by trams is often shown by tram lanes marked by white lines, yellow dots, or by different type of road surface. Diamond-shaped signs and white light signals give instructions to tram drivers only. Law. Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984, Sections 5 and 8. Section Roadworks, Level Crossings and Tramways, Rules 188 to 307. Subsection Tramways, Rules 300 to 307. Rule 301. Take extra care where the truck crosses from one side of the road to the other, and where the road narrows and the trucks come close to the curb. Tram drivers usually have their own traffic signals and might be permitted to move when you are not. Always give way to trams. Do not try to race or overtake them or pass them on the inside, unless they are at tram stops or stopped by tram signals and there is a designated tram lane for you to pass. Section Roadworks, Level Crossings and Tramways, Rules 188 307. Subsection Tramways, Rules 300 to 307. Rule 302. You must not park your vehicle where it would get in the way of trams or where it would force other drivers to do so. Do not stop on any part of a tram track, except in a designated bay where this has been provided alongside and clear of the track. When doing so, ensure that all parts of your vehicle are outside the delineated tram path. Remember that a tram cannot steer around an obstruction. Law, Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984, Sections 5 and 8. Section Roadworks, Level Crossings and Tramways, Rules 288 to 307. Subsection Tramways, Rules 300 to 307. Rule 303. Tram stops. Where the tram stops at the platform, either in the middle or at the side of the road, you must follow the route shown by the road signs and markings. At stops without platforms, you must not drive between a tram and the left-hand curb when a tram has stopped to pick up passengers. If there is no alternative route sign, do not overtake the tram. Wait until it moves off. Law, Road Traffic Regulation Act, 1984, Sections 5 and 8. Section Roadworks, Level Crossings and Tramways, Rules 288 to 307. Subsection Tramways, Rules 300 to 307. Rule 304. Look out for pedestrians, especially children, running to catch a tram approaching a stop. Section Roadworks, Level Crossings and Tramways, Rules 288 to 307. Subsection Tramways, Rules 300 to 307. Rule 305. Always give priority to trams, especially when they signal to pull away from stops, unless it would be unsafe to do so. Remember that they might be carrying large numbers of standing passengers who could be injured if the tram had to make an emergency stop. Look out for people getting off a bus or tram and crossing the road. Section Roadworks, Level Crossings and Tramways, Rules 188 to 307. Subsection Tramways, Rules 300 to 307. Rule 306. All road users, but particularly cyclists and motorcyclists, should take extra care when driving or riding close to or crossing the tracks, especially if the rails are wet. You should take particular care when crossing the rails at shallow angles or bends and at junctions. It is safest to cross the tracks directly at right angles. Other road users should be aware that cyclists and motorcyclists might need more space to cross the track safely. Section Roadworks, Level Crossings and Tramways, Rules 288 to 307. Subsection Tramways, Rules 300 to 307. Rule 307. Overhead electric lines. Tramway overhead wires are normally 5.8 meters above any carriageway, but can be lower. You should ensure that you have sufficient clearance between the wire and your vehicle, including any load you are carrying, before driving under an overhead wire. Drivers of vehicles with extending cranes, booms, tipping apparatus, or other types of variable height equipment should ensure that the equipment is fully lowered. Where overhead wires are set lower than 5.8 meters, this will be indicated by high clearance markings, similar to low bridge signs. The height clearances on these plates should be carefully noted and observed. If you are in any doubt as to whether your vehicle will pass safely under the wires, you should always contact the local police or the tramway operator. Never take a chance, as this can be extremely hazardous. Section Roadworks, Level Crossings and Tramways, Rules 188 to 307. Subsection Tramways, Rules 300 to 307.